T minus 1 minute. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Make the ground shake.
Hey everybody, this is Pastor Chris, and I'm ready to check you into C3 Kids.
Waking up knowing there's a reason. All my dreams come alive. Life is for living. With you, I've made my decision. You lift me up, fill my eyes with wonder. Forever young in your love, this freedom's untainted. With you, no moment is wasted. Sun now bursting through the clouds, black and white, turn to color all around. All is new in the Savior I am found. This is living now. This is living now. You lead the way, got you right beside me. In your love, I'm complete. There's nothing like living with you. This life you created, I choose. See the sun now bursting through the clouds, black and white, turn to color all around. All is new in the Savior I am found. This is living now.
If it was, am I living it? Do I live in it? So astounding. Love is an ocean, you can drown me. The sweet embrace, the lovely taste, I taste and see. I'm under grace, the place to be. It means I'll never need an umbrella. I'm cool in the cold, in the hot weather. Whether or never I ever understand, I'm a man in the hands of great plans. I stand with faith there in a life I never known to touch. And still outside my clutch, but I'm like, what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? Live to no end, this is living. The life I've been given's a gift. If I'm a living, I'ma live it to death. So what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? And live to no end, this is living. The life I've been given's a gift. If I'm a living, I'ma live it to death. Yeah.
Freedom is an open door. You are everything I want and more.
Come on, put them together tonight. I'm alive, 'cause Jesus gave me life. He opened up my eyes. I can see clearly now. Oh, everybody dance now. Oh, everybody give it up for Jesus. Give him glory, for he has redeemed us. Praise his name. My desire is to lift you higher. It's only burning brighter. This passion inside of me. Oh, everybody dance now. Oh, everybody give it up for Jesus. Give him glory, for he has redeemed us. Everybody give it up for Jesus. Praise his name. 1, 2, let's go. Come on, sing it out tonight. Sing it. Everybody give it up for Jesus. Give him glory, for he has redeemed us. Everybody give it up for Jesus. Praise his name. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Did you know that you can hear a lion's roar up to 5 miles away? That's like a lion roaring at the Westfield Mall and we hearing it here at church. Wow, and my wife thinks I'm loud.
This is the story of David and Goliath. David was a shepherd boy. His people were at war with the Philistines, far away from the battlefield. David used his slingshot to keep his flock safe from wild animals. One day, a giant Philistine soldier named Goliath dared anyone to fight. David loaded a stone into his slingshot. David's stone flew through the air, striking Goliath right between the eyes. With a loud thud, Goliath fell to the ground. David had saved his people. King Saul made David a soldier in his army. David would one day rule the kingdom. Thank you for joining me. Have a good day.
Stories of the Bible. Daniel in the Lion's Den. This is Daniel.
Oh, hey!
Who was a Jewish man who was taken to Babylon when he was very young.
Yeah.
Daniel loved God and followed God's rules. He talked to God 3 times a day and asked God for help often. Daniel served in the Babylonian king's court for many years
Yeah, I know him.
and under many kings.
Hey, Daniel.
Daniel always proved himself to be more capable than all the other court officials.
I hear him. Thanks. Well, anytime.
Daniel was serving under King Darius, and because of his great abilities, the king made plans to place him in charge of the entire empire.
Wow, okay.
The other court officials searched for some fault in Daniel, but they couldn't find anything wrong with him. He was faithful, responsible, and completely trustworthy.
Wait.
The court officials realized the only way to get at Daniel would be to challenge his faith.
Come on.
So they went to King Darius
Excuse me, Your Majesty.
and advised him to make a law that for the next 30 days, any person who prays to anyone except King Darius will be thrown into the lion's den.
I like it.
King Darius signed this law, and once a Babylonian king signed a law, it could not be overruled. When Daniel learned of this law, he went home and knelt down, as he always did, to pray in his room with the windows open towards Jerusalem. He prayed 3 times a day, just as he always had done, giving thanks to God and asking for his help. The officials went to Daniel's house and found him praying.
Gotcha.
They went to the king and reminded him of the law.
I remember.
Well,
Then they said that Daniel had been found praying to God 3 times a day.
What?
When the king heard this, he was very upset,
Get over here.
and he spent the whole day trying to think of a way to save Daniel.
wait, what?
By that evening, the court officials came back to the king and reminded him that no law signed by the Babylonian king could be overruled. So at last, the king gave orders for Daniel to be thrown into the lion's den. The king said to him, "May your God, who you serve faithfully, rescue you." Then the lion's den was sealed shut with Daniel inside. The king spent the night fasting and couldn't sleep. Then very early in the morning, the king hurried to the lion's den. He called out,
Hey, Daniel.
"Was your God able to rescue you from the lions?" And Daniel answered, "Long live the king! My God sent his angel to shut the lions' mouths so that they would not hurt me, for I have been found innocent in his sight." The king was overjoyed and ordered that Daniel be taken out of the lion's den. Then the king ordered the men who had schemed against Daniel to be thrown into the lion's den as punishment. Daniel was safe. There was not a scratch on him, for he trusted in God.
The story of Daniel highlights how Daniel put God number 1 in his life. Even from a young age, Daniel trusted God and prayed to him 3 times a day. So when Daniel grew older, Daniel gained favor with the king. Out of all the king's advisors, Daniel was the king's favorite. And that favoritism made the other advisors not like Daniel so much. So even though Daniel had favor with God, Daniel's life wasn't always unicorns and rainbows. Because the other advisors didn't like Daniel, they plotted to get rid of him. But because Daniel put God first in his life, God looked out for Daniel. Right now in our lives, there might be a lot of things going on in the world. Even as simple as before we were able to come to church and now we can't. And then we were able to go to church again and then we couldn't again. Or even something as simple as worshiping. Before we could worship anywhere that we wanted, but now they're advising against worshiping in a group. Things like this might make us nervous, but if we always put God number 1 and trust in him in the easy times, then we should trust him in the hard times. But just like Daniel grew the habit of trusting in God and praying to God, we should at a young age build the habit of doing the same. How often do we remember to pray to God? Do we always pray to God before our meals? Do we always pray to God before we go to bed or when we wake up? How often do we talk to God? If we build the habits of trusting in God in the easy times, it'll be that much easier to trust him in the hard times. So even though everything going on in the world, we should take a note out of Daniel's book and see how we should trust God. And when we put God number one in our life, God will look out for us. So I really encourage you, always put God number one, and He will put you number one. How many times a day did Daniel pray to God? Was it 1 time, 2 times, or 3 times? What do you think? That's right, it was 3 times. The king was going to put Daniel in charge of what? Was it Chick-fil-A, his house, or the entire kingdom? What do you think? That's right. The king was going to put Daniel in charge of his entire kingdom. The court officials were going to try to challenge Daniel's what? Strength, aiming ability, or faith? Which one do you think? That's right! The court officials were trying to challenge Daniel's faith, but they couldn't because Daniel trusted God. When Daniel was thrown into the lion's den, what did God do to protect Daniel? Did He put the lions in cages? Did He close the mouths of the lions? Or did He feed the lions Chick-fil-A? What do you think? That's right, God closed the mouths of the lions. Way to go! I'm so glad that you joined us today for C3 Kids. I can't wait to see you next week. Have a good day.
Make the ground shake.